public comment? Thank you. I'm glad we got the recording going. So now is the time for any public comments from anything not on the agenda. Debbie, help me out, and Eloise, any members of the public who have joined us?
I have, no one has joined.
Okay, and at this time, we'll close this portion of the agenda and move to item number 3, the consent agenda. So any members from the board or the public wishing to have one of the consent items pulled or wishing to make comments on the consent items, now is the time to do that. Okay, and see no members with any hands raised. Let's see, I'm just. Okay, you know what? And I'm getting a reminder of something that I have neglected, and my apologies. And I rolled right over the Pledge of Allegiance. So I want to go back and beg your forgiveness. So let's go back and do the pledge. And Eloise, we don't have a flag that we put up, do we? Okay, there we go. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Kimberly, Craig, I see that you're there. Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Of course. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And you know, at this time, it's much more meaningful every time we're reminded that the whole of the United States pledges our concern for what's going on in the Middle East and our wishes of resolution quickly and safety for all. Absolutely. So now let's go back to the consent. We did not have anybody raising a hand to pull any item from the consent. So we'll, oh, I'm sorry. Let me see. I'm looking at the hands. Debbie, is your hand raised for anything else? Okay, I see it's down. Let's entertain a motion for the consent.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Debbie, we couldn't hear you, and I think you had something to say regarding the consent agenda.
Debbie, we still can't hear you. Todd, go ahead.
Yes, I think what Debbie wanted to point out or notify to the board that on, I'm sorry, on item 3.4.2, the CSUMB Safe Route to School contract, there are some small revisions to the contract as listed within the board packet that CSUMB requested just recently. And Catherine Hansen, TAMC's attorney, has a chance to review them and okayed them. So we just wanted to note that there were a few minor changes from what's posted in the agenda packet.
Okay, great. Todd, any of those changes reflect the dollar amount?
No, they don't change the dollar amount and or scope. Okay,
great. Any board member that may have a question on the one item 3.4.2 on the CSUMB comments that Todd has just made? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised. Okay, good. Thank you very much for the update, Todd. Hopefully Debbie's sound will come back and join us soon. Motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, could you identify who's making the motion, please?
Mayor Kerr from Delray Oaks.
Thank you, Allison. And a second?
Lopez is a second.
Oh, great.
Okay, I heard a Chris Lopez. Eloise, if you'll do the roll call, please.
District 1, Supervisor Alejo.
Aye.
District 2, alternate Stratton.
Aye.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Aye.
District 4, Supervisor Askew.
Aye.
District 5 Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea. City of Delray Oaks.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of Greenfield. City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Aye.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Aye.
City of Sand City.
Aye.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad. Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Next item, let's move to item number 4. TAMC agency employee quarter of the, the quarter, employee quarter of the quarter. So Todd, I think we have Debbie's sound back. Let's shift this to Debbie. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Welcome aboard. Yes, we can.
Okay,
hear you.
thanks. My headset decided to die this morning. So anyway, it's with great pleasure that I present our employee of the quarter to Lynn Terry. Some of you may not be familiar with Lynn because she's part of the group of TAMC folks that works in the background and makes sure that everything is running smoothly. Lynn's the one that is our financial accountant clerk, and she's the one that comes to me and says, you don't have all your receipts for your travel claim. We need to have the receipts for the credit cards. She basically is the one that makes sure that when they audit us, all of the paperwork is taken care of. As you know, a critical function, but not somebody that you usually see at TAMC board meetings. She's a part-time employee, but she's incredibly flexible and has really been an asset to our office. Her direct supervisor is Rita, and I know Rita wanted to take a moment also to offer some praise to Lynn for all her unseen hero activities.
Thank you, Debbie. I think Debbie covered most of all of Lynn's good attributes that she brings to the agency. She's very dedicated, very diligent. Make sure that our records are straight. And, you know, that's very important. Like Debbie pointed out, when auditors come, they want to make sure the backup is there. She keeps it straight, whether it's payroll, whether it's accounts payable, whether it's contract monitoring. But above all, during the pandemic, you know, most of us have been flexible with our work schedules, but we still have a 8 to 5, 40-hour job mostly. Lynn, being part-time, had fixed days that she used to come to the office and fixed hours pretty much. But during the pandemic, she's really had to shift and work days that she normally wouldn't work on, or even she's done some work on weekends and evenings, just to make sure that we are running all our finance and accounting paperwork and all the things we need to do to dot the T's, across the T's and dot the I's. So it's very, very much appreciated. And we look forward to many, many more years, hopefully. I know she's kind of giving me some signals here, but hopefully a long time to come at TAMC. So Lynn, well deserved.
Lynn, we would love to hear from you, Lynn. Any comments?
I just, all I can say is thank you. I mean, I do my job, but it's really nice to be appreciated. Thank you. Everybody who I work with and everything else, they're great. I wouldn't be here as long as I have if you guys weren't who you were.
Thank you, Lynn. And we wish that we could be in person. We'd love to get a photograph with you and actually be able to see you at a real life board meeting. So hopefully that will happen in the near future. We miss being able to come together as a board. And this is one of the things that's important, to be able to see our employees that come that are not necessarily always at the forefront of a presentation, but this place would not work without people like you. So thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? Members of the public? Okay. All right, great. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Debbie and Rita. Next item up is item 5, receive update on state legislation and activities, and adopt some positions proposed. Christina, is this one yours?
This is one of mine. Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Christina Watson, Principal Transportation Planner. And we have on the line with us today, Gus Curry from Curry Consulting, who is going to present the state legislative update and ask for your support on positions on specific legislation. Gus?
Thank you so much, Christina. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Gus Corey, Corey Consulting. Fairly short report, but what it lacks in quantity hopefully doesn't lack in quality. There's a lot going on here in Sacramento. The legislature just came back from its summer recess last Monday. It's going to be a fast and furious fight to the finish here. Session adjourns on September 10th, and there are still several outstanding items pertaining to the budget. In June, the legislature had approved two budget bills, AB 128 and SB 129, which contained some pronounced investments into transportation infrastructure and multimodal options. There's $3.1 billion that's set aside for the transit and intercity rail capital program. There's an additional $500 million for the active transportation program. But there's a huge but to all of this, and it's predicated upon the legislature reaching a deal on high-speed rail. Specifically, Governor Newsom was requesting that the legislature exhaust the remaining $4.2 billion of appropriation authority from the High-Speed Rail Bond Act in exchange for making these other revenues available, which we would compete for. So the legislature is currently deliberating on those items. Part of the package does also include things that we have in our 2021 state legislative program. And that includes $6 billion for broadband investment, which I know that Supervisor Alejo has been working very closely on with the League of Cities and CSAC, among others, in order to expand accessibility and speeds for internet access, which would help with reducing vehicle miles traveled and enhancing those that can telecommute to do so. Money that's set aside is $3.2 billion over 3 years for zero emission infrastructure and ZEV rebates. There's $500 million that's incorporated within that $3.2 billion. And so things are just sort of up in the air. I think, with the recall looming, especially, and the latest polling showing that it's closer than what many have expected. It's taken the administration a little bit of time maybe to figure out what their priorities are going to be for the end of session along with the legislature. And it's going to continue to be a big three conversation between the Assembly Speaker, the Senate President Pro Tem, and the governor as to how they wrap things up for the regular session. Governor Newsom will have until October 10th in order to sign or veto legislation. And so we'll continue to keep track on those items. One other significant item is that on June 11th, feels like it's been eons ago, but Governor Newsom issued an executive order to extend the ability for local jurisdictions to have an exemption from the Brown Act to continue to meet virtually through September 30th. There currently is not any additional guidance as to what happens after September 30th. We do anticipate there being something because even in the best case scenario where there's legislation that's going to be considered, there's nothing currently in print that gives any instruction, and there's certainly nothing that's an urgency item. So there would basically be a 90-day gap, if you will, with the majority vote bill that would take effect on Jan 1st. But there's currently nothing that the legislature is contemplating that would allow us to continue having the flexibility to meet remotely. There is legislation that's going through the process. It's AB 339, authored by Assemblymember Lee from the East Bay. And what that bill would do is it would require for physical and virtual meetings to occur simultaneously. There's an exemption for counties or local jurisdictions that have a population of less than 250,000. It applies to city council and board of supervisor meetings. However, it is not applicable to JPAs or any special districts, and certainly not TAMC as a result. And so there really isn't any guidance for us beyond the September 30th date. Aside from that, there are 3 items that we wanted to bring to the board's attention for action. One of them is Assembly Bill 122. This is authored by Borna Horvath. She's from Southern California. And what it would allow for is to yield for a cyclist to yield rather than stop at a stop sign, and for vehicles to also yield to cyclists as they're entering an intersection. This practice or statute, I should say, has been adopted in other states, Delaware, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Utah, Arkansas, North Dakota, and Colorado. And in Delaware, it's resulted in a 23% reduction in accidents involving cyclists. And so we're asking for a support position here. We had to run this by the Bicycle Advisory Committee. And so we're asking for a support position. The second bill is SB 69. This bill, it's not really within the purview of TAMC, but it would require, it would allow actually the Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit District to be able to conduct expanded service within the region. And since we are a mega regional partner, we wanted to be supportive of our sister agency. Although I will say that we have not seen amendments that would do just that. So we have a supportive amended position. The last day to amend anything is September 3rd. And so we're checking daily, and we're checking in with the author's office as to if and when the bill might be amended. So it could be a moot point, but if the bill does get amended, we wanted to show a team effort here on that one. And then the last bill we previously had an opposed position on was SB 771. This is authored by Senator Becker from San Mateo. It would have provided an exemption from the collection of local sales tax for the purchase of electric vehicles, which would have had a definite impact on our Measure X resources, revenue. And so the bill has since been amended to apply only to the vehicle license fee, which is not a revenue stream that TAMC is a recipient of. And so we're asking to change our oppose unless amended position to a watch position, Mr. Chair and members. And so I'll stop right there, and I'll see if folks have any questions or comments for me. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gus. Any board members with questions on the 3 action items or any of the other listed bills that Gus has provided us in his documents? Any board questions? Okay, any members of the public that have joined us that might have comments? Okay, Christina, back to you.
That concludes our report, Mr. Chair. We're
Okay.
looking for action on this.
Okay, so at this time, we'll entertain a motion for the action items that Gus has presented.
So moved by Alejo. Second, Labar.
Thank you, Mayors and Supervisor. Eloise, if you'll do the roll call for us.
District 1, Supervisor Alejo.
Aye.
District 2, Supervisor Phillips.
Aye.
District 3, Supervisor Barbara. I'm sorry, District
Mrs.
3,
Lopez,
Supervisor
aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Thank you. District 4, Supervisor Askew.
Aye.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea. City of Delray Oaks.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of Greenfield. City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Aye.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Aye.
City of Sand City.
Aye.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad. Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Item number 6, we're going to hear from our federal lobbyist, Christina.
Yes, this is me again, Mr. Chair. So we have on the line Paul Schlesinger and Perrin Badini from Alcalde and Fay, who are our federal legislative consultants. And after they have completed their report, I will present the California Coalition letter to the federal delegation that we're asking for your support on today. Paul, would you like to start? I'm not
Paul.
hearing you, Paul.
How about now?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman, board members. Just yesterday, there was a significant development. It's funny, you know, Christina and I chatted for a few minutes 2 days ago or yesterday morning to explain what we were going to be talking about. And just since then, there's been a significant development that in the big picture of how transportation legislation is going to move forward this year, it's bringing the big picture into focus, and quite likely as well some of the details. I know it's been in all the papers about how infrastructure is going to move forward, as well as the human infrastructure, if you will, packages that politically have all been enmeshed. And yesterday afternoon in the House, an agreement was reached and voted on and passed to take up, it sort of had two major aspects. One was an agreement to take up the Senate passed infrastructure bill by September the 27th. And the second was to move forward on, if you will, the human infrastructure package as part of the budget reconciliation, the $3.5 trillion package that the committees are all instructed to come up with their parts of it by September the 15th. And in the House, there would be about $60 billion given to the House Authorizing Committee of the infrastructure package that they indicate they will use to sort of sweeten the deal and make the Senate infrastructure bill more to their liking. It would be a second package, but in the House, the feeling was that the Senate highway and transit bill wasn't up to snuff, but they would use this extra amount of money to help that along. And that's, by the way, 60 billion over 10 years, so about 6 billion a year more, not just for highway and transit, also for water and other types of more traditional infrastructure. What that means most immediately to us is not so great, in that, you know, the House bill, the House authorizing bill for infrastructure that had passed had our $2 million for our Highway 101 project. The Senate bill that's now passed didn't have any earmarks for anybody. And that is the bill that the House agreed that he would take up. So if it moves forward the way that it would logically move forward, there won't be any earmarks in that legislation. Sort of seeing what was happening a month or so ago, your staff, Christina, Debbie, and I got together, and Todd, and said, well, let's, in maybe an uphill kind of thing, contact our delegation, projecting that this would happen, what has now happened, and be asking them to take our earmark and put it in the transportation appropriations measure on the Senate side, which is yet to pass. So we did that. A letter did go out maybe 3 weeks ago or so. And now we are just in the middle of following up with the staffers in the 3 offices to see if that might, if they might be able to do something with this. Of course, I think by now, other communities around the state and the country are realizing what's happening, and you know, they're all concerned that their earmarks may fall by the wayside. Of course, the other thing would be that in the House side, they could elect to take some of that $60 billion that they're going to use in reconciliation and put that and use that for earmarks such as ours. Every time there's an upside, there's also a downside and a negative you can project onto it. And that is that the standing rules on reconciliation, so-called Byrd rules, actually specifically prohibit earmarking in reconciliation bills. So there would have to be a workaround for that. That's where we are. Happy to try to address any questions. I know that some of what I'm saying is kind of in the weeds, but that's the way it is right now.
Well, that's okay, Bill. Paul, you're not making the legislation. You're just trying to understand all the moving parts.
And which I can't usually understand the first time through, so I know how confusing it can be.
At this point, let's see if there's any questions from board members to our federal lobbyist. Paul, stand by here and see if we have any questions from our board members.
And Perrin, by the way.
Yes, Karen. So board members, if you have any questions, please indicate with a raised hand. That would be helpful. Okay, I'm not seeing any raised hands.
I'm sorry, Chair Smith, did Mary Adams, did you have your hand raised?
My face was a question, so
I
want to ask a question of Paul. So bottom line, what's at risk for us?
Well, I think what's at risk is that the earmark that we have worked for the $2 million on the 101 project, as with all earmarks that were in the House bill, is in serious jeopardy right now.
Okay.
I mean, we weren't, I guess, I should point out, we were in no way singled out. It's not ours. It's
no, I understand
every
that.
single earmark that was in the House Transportation Reauthorization Bill.
I was unclear whether we had other things in that, but it's $2 million for the 101 projects.
Correct.
So that's it. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other board members with questions? Okay, Christina.
Okay.
Let's
Yes.
go with you.
So the Caltrans has been leading an effort to get a letter sent to the California delegation expressing the state's interests in this reauthorization process, the infrastructure bill, whatever you feel like calling it, the funding for the next several years for transportation specifically. And this letter has gone through many edits, and it underwent yet another edit after I posted it to this packet. But we have reviewed the edits that they have sent us yesterday evening and determined that they are not substantial, and we still recommend support for the delegation letter. And so TAMC would be signing on, along with a lot of other transportation agencies across the state, to a letter to the California representatives in Washington to support the efforts that they're making in transportation funding. We asked for your endorsement of this letter this morning.
Okay, great. Hopefully all the board members have seen this in the packet, the 7 points of the Caltrans letter that's before us. So at this point, let's see if there's any questions on this letter. Board members, any questions on the letter and the letter that Christina has just spoke about? Okay, I'm not seeing any raised hands or any faces. Don't think we have any questions. So at this time, let's entertain a motion for the recommendation to endorse the letter from Caltrans.
So moved. Adams.
Second.
And I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's the California Coalition on Transportation. So we have a first and a second. Eloise, roll call, please.
District 1, Supervisor Alejo.
Aye.
District 2, Alternate Stratton.
Aye.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Aye.
District 4, Supervisor Askew.
Aye.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea. City of Delray Oaks.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of Greenfield. City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Aye.
City of Monterey,
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove,
Aye.
City of Salinas,
Aye.
City of Sand City,
Aye.
City of Seaside,
Aye.
City of Soledad. Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So just, Christina, just a technical question. What happens now? Is the letter nearly done through its draft cycle? And then we notify them that we also endorse? And then
Yes. Yeah, so we will notify them that the board endorsed this letter. They wanted everybody to notify them by August 30th. So I'm assuming that's when they'll send it, and they'll send us a copy, and I'll put it in the correspondence section for the next agenda packet. So you'll all be able to see the final version of that letter
Okay,
as
great.
endorsed by TAMC.
Super, that'll be helpful. So we can, as board members, take this back to other members on our council, board of supervisors, and we can share this information. So whatever influences we have with federal electeds, we'll put it to work. All right, next item up is item number 7, the regional telework survey results. Debbie, are you going to introduce this, or is this Todd?
Well, I'd like to welcome one of our newer staff members who's been with us now just about a year, but she joined during COVID and has done a great job of reaching beyond the Zoom screen. So Tracy Burke Vasquez, who's managing our Go 831 program, is going to give the presentation.
Thank you, Debbie. Hello, everyone. I am Tracy Burke Vasquez, and I have put together a presentation for the results that we gathered from the survey we sent out in April. You may recall we did the regional telework survey with the Tri-County to just try to figure out what people are feeling about what's happening with telework about a year or so here into the pandemic. So first of all, why am I here and talking to you about this? It's because I am the coordinator of the Go 831 program. And the Go 831 program exists with the purpose to get people out of single car drivers, so just you driving by yourself, so as to get emissions out of the air and reduce the traffic. So some of the ways that we can do that with Go 831 is our goals, reducing regional traffic, reducing greenhouse emissions. What we're aiming to do is offer people smart commute alternatives. And because of what happened with COVID and the global pandemic, telework has become the #1 smart commute method of choice. And so we wanted to see after, a year through COVID, how people were feeling, how things had been working out. And so we worked together to try to figure out different ways to get more people to be carpooling, vanpooling, doing transit, and how we could focus these efforts by asking people questions to figure out what's working for them so that we can prepare materials, have answers, have resources for them to continue teleworking. So why did we take the survey? Well, the global pandemic drastically changed the way many people commute in the Monterey Bay area, leading obviously to increased telework. This mass teleworking acceleration obviously reduced the traffic, but many businesses and organizations were not equipped to operate remotely when the first shelter-in-place orders were enacted, and there was a steep learning curve for everybody. A year into the pandemic, we wanted to make with vaccinations now making it more possible for people to get out into the community and returning to the physical workplace, we kind of wanted to gauge where people were at so that if they needed help with teleworking, we could help provide resources. Because basically now businesses have an opportunity to reconstruct how and where employees work. Next slide, please. Yes, so we work together with Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission, the City of Santa Cruz, San Benito Council of Governments, and the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. We wanted to survey the region on their experience with telework as a whole, both the pros and the cons, and if they plan to continue teleworking into the future, what kind of tools and resources they might need, what's working for them, what's not, and how we might be able to help with that. The idea with the survey was to be able to create a toolkit that includes resources, templates, that basically answer the questions of what was missing via the survey. The toolkit is going to be accessible online, and we will be shared through all of these different partner channels. All right, so the survey showed overwhelming support for teleworking in the Tri-County region. The survey was administered in April 2021 and was sent to employers across the counties of Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Benito. 220 employers responded to this survey. 48 of those respondents were in Monterey County, and 39% were from the private sector, while 60% were from the public. Some of the key findings we found were that 76% of employers have now adopted a telework policy. 81% of employers answered that they plan to continue to support teleworking, while 17% are undecided. And overall, almost half of our respondents, 42%, prefer that employees telework no more than 3 days per week. Some of the barriers and benefits that we discovered, the top issues that employers and employees faced while teleworking: technical issues, we've all been there; video conference fatigue, maybe also all been there as well; and inadequate access to Wi-Fi and broadband. Some of the top benefits that employers and employees are experiencing during telework: saving money by not driving as much, saving time by not traveling as much or going to in-person meetings, and having more time with loved ones and or at home. Some of the key findings regarding managing remotely is that employers are managing their teleworking employees by online meeting or phone calls, that's 33%, and email activity, 27%. I'm sure we all know we're on the email quite a bit. More than half of the employees, 52%, are reimbursing employees for telework equipment, technology, or other expenses. And 64% of our respondents answered that the use of office resources, such as water, waste, energy, etc., has declined during the pandemic due to increase in teleworking. In review, this was our first telework survey, and we intend to make it an annual survey with our partners. And as we move forward, we would like to include other smart commute options so that we can figure out best practices for each of those. We chose teleworking as it was the most readily usable by everyone right now, and something that we could all sort of identify as something to work on to make better. But in the future, we would like to include all of the different smart commute options. I wonder if now that you've heard these results, are you thinking about the best way that you can smart commute? Because if you do, you can always go to go831.org and sign up for our Ride Amigos. And that allows you to link up with other people in the community, find people to bike with, walk with, rideshare opportunities where appropriate, and then you can track these things, get results, get information. We sometimes have contests, so there's a really great opportunity to educate and learn more about smart commuting if you are interested. And then the difference so far, Go831 tracks this information with our Ride Amigos software, and since we began tracking, we have created 28,000 alternative trips. We have burned 2.3 million calories as a community. We have saved 101 tons of CO2 from not being put into the air. And we have saved almost $140,000 as far as money on gas, car wear and tear, any of those sorts of expenses related. So that is why, to us, teleworking is super important. And if we can capture what people need out of it, which was why we took the survey, and we've got some great answers to our questions about what we can provide for people that we can then share with the community. And so we thank you all for taking the survey and hope that when it returns next year that you will participate again. Please go to go831.org, check out our page and the various options, and like us on Instagram. Thank you.
Hey, great. Thank you very much, Tracy. Good work. We have a few questions from the board.
Absolutely.
Mayor Mike Labar.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry about that. Of course it goes. Very interesting. And if something to think about, it would also be interesting to get a list of some of the best telework jobs. That would be helpful in a lot of our jurisdictions, as well as ways that we can market and plan for different types of industries to move.
That's great. Thank you. That's great feedback.
But otherwise, I'm glad you're going to be doing this every year. It's only going to get more and more important to have this kind of data. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Labar.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the board have questions of the presentation? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. Any members of the public that have joined us that might have comments or questions?
Chair, I believe Mayor Kerr had her hand raised.
Okay, I'm sorry, don't see that on my screen.
My apologies. I couldn't find my raise hand function.
That's okay. We'll take the physical observation.
Sorry. Tracy, this is a great report. Thank you for taking this on. And I agree with Mayor Labar, you know, an annual kind of status would be really interesting. My question was, you mentioned who you sent the request for information from. Do you happen to have a breakout of the industries that answered? You know, I would be curious if that matches up with some of our largest employers and the, you know, the pie pieces that make up Monterey County.
Yes, absolutely. I do have a more detailed summary of the different industries and how they responded, and I would be happy to share that information with you or anyone else who's interested, but I will share that directly with you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. No problem.
Okay, great. Any other questions? All right. Tracy, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
At this time, action item 8 is to receive some reports from our transportation providers and partners. And first up, Scott Eads with Caltrans.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Again, Scott Eads here for the District Director for Caltrans. So I have a few items to share with you today. First is an announcement that the draft Interregional Transportation Strategic Plan, or ITSP, which is put together by Caltrans, was released on August 3rd. And the plan provides a policy framework related to interregional travel. So those longer trips that make up freight or other modes of travel. And it aligns with new statewide policies and documents, including the Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, or CAPTI, the California Transportation Plan 2050, the Freight Mobility Plan, and the State Rail Plan. So there's a lot that kind of comes up under this umbrella, and this plan builds on that. And it includes an increased focus this time on equity, multimodal travel, reduction in vehicle miles traveled, and zero emission travel and infrastructure. So, you know, those are all really tied to CAPTI and the CTP 2050 and those other things that I mentioned previously. The Central Coast is highlighted as a specific region within the plan. There's 11 strategic interregional corridors that are identified within the Central Coast. That primarily involves 101, 156 East, 41 and 46 down in San Luis Obispo County. It also includes key rail and highway segments. So the rail system is included in the plan. And this really sets the stage for ITIP programming, which is the Interregional Transportation Improvement Program that's largely programmed through Caltrans, that the CTC allocates those funds. And so as part of this plan, it does include scoring criteria or evaluation criteria for ITIP. So it does set the stage for this future ITIP programming that will be coming up in the future cycle. There's 3 workshops that are scheduled around the ITIP. I'm sorry, the ITSP. The first 2 are already over, actually. One was on August 12th, the second was on August 24th, but there's one coming up on August 26th, tomorrow, from 10 to 11 a.m. And it's focusing on the ITSP and the California, Southern California focus area, which is, the presentation is similar for both. So if you're interested, you can go onto the Caltrans website and sign up for that. Comments are due on the plan on the 10th of September. Next thing I wanted to mention is Clean California. It's a new statewide initiative. It's $1 billion total funding that's associated with this. And the focus is to remove litter, create jobs, and beautify California. It's broken down into several different sub areas. The first is litter abatement over 3 years, focused on the state highway system. And then state beautification projects, again, focused on the state highway system. And then there's a whole category for local beautification projects over 2 years. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. There's also a public education campaign associated with it. And it also provides payments to adopt a highway participants when they clean designated segments of roadway. So that's a nice bonus for those that are already out there helping to clean up trash. So back to the local program, and local beautification program. Caltrans is currently developing the criteria for the local grants. The call for projects is scheduled in December. We encourage agencies to get ready now. There is some information on the Clean California website that talks a bit about the local grant program. There's 2 workshops that are scheduled to talk about the guidelines that are being developed. The first is on September 1st from 1 to 3 p.m. The second is on October 7th from 8:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. So, and then the other thing to highlight is that it will be managed through our local assistance branch. This is going to be a fairly quick program because it's, as I mentioned, the call for projects comes out in December. We would expect the applications to be due within 8 weeks of that call for projects. And then all of the dollars need to be expended on those projects within about 1.5 years. So it's fairly quick, and there's more information online on that. Last thing I wanted to highlight is that the CTC at its August CTC meeting allocated more than $1.4 billion in funding. Over half of that was for SB1. And one of those projects that were allocated is the $8 million project on State Route 68 near Pacific Grove. It's a pavement rehabilitation project. And so we'll be beginning construction late this year or early next year on that project. That concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, any board members with questions for Scott Eads? Any questions? Scott, thank you very much. And it was good to hear from you on the update for the Clean California. And one question on the grant process. I know you said it's a December action. Has there been any change from the governor in terms of his modification of his executive order for the cleanups around Caltrans regarding encampments? Or is that wrapped into the expectation that that'll start taking place in December, January?
So happy to take that. In terms of the encampments, there's a really clear distinction between Clean California and encampment cleanup. There's a desire for those to not be tied together. The encampment, or I should say Clean California, does not in any way displace folks that are experiencing homelessness. But there is separate efforts that are playing out within Caltrans. There's more work that has, or more authority, I should say, has been delegated to the district directors to be able to assess the highest priority areas. So there's a prioritization process that's playing out within Caltrans to identify areas where either, the folks that are out there, their health is being compromised by living where they're at on the state highway right away, or infrastructure is being compromised, or could be resulting in safety implications for the traveling public. So those are the kind of the higher priority focus areas. Obviously, there's a lot of areas that we see folks within the state highway right away, throughout the district and throughout the state. We have delegated or designated 2 point persons within Caltrans District 5 that are focusing specifically on this issue. And we're coordinating very closely with county and local jurisdictions to provide a continuum of care for any of those situations, to make sure that there's adequate noticing and that there's other services that can be provided when we need to go in and address these encampments. So we are working on that, and then happy to work with any local jurisdictions to partner with them on areas that they see as of concern that they want to work with us on addressing.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think there's more to follow on the moving parts of that. A couple of hands raised. Debbie Hale, let's go to you first.
All right, I just wanted to mention to board members that with regards to the Clean California grants, we'll be making a presentation to the Technical Advisory Committee. So if there are projects that you have ideas for, just mention it to your public works staff, and they can ask a lot of specific questions as to what qualifies and such. But I believe it focuses on litter pickup and beautification. So more to come on that with regards to your jurisdictions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Supervisor Askew.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just thinking, I appreciate the update and definitely will be following with that Clean California grant opportunity. But I'm just curious if we could request some presentations to this board about some of the state plans that are once they're finalized. I just think it would be really helpful to have sort of an overview of these transportation plans and how they to make sure that we really truly understand exactly how they interface with the opportunity and the work here in Monterey County.
Yeah, good idea. And I think, Todd, maybe we can look to doing something like that in the first part of 2022. Maybe get something on the agenda and give Scott more time.
Happy to do so.
Great, thank you. I don't see any other hands, any other comments. Thank you, Scott, appreciate it. Next, let's go to our partner from Monterey Peninsula Airport, Bill Sabo. Bill,
I had to unmute, and thanks for this opportunity, as always, for this shameless self-promotion for the airport. But I wanted to mention about Go 831. You can always use this airport, and that really reduces the individual trips, other than driving to San Francisco or San Jose. In that
Bill, I've got to get you to sign up for our club then.
That's
Track
right.
those miles, get some points.
In that regard, though, about reducing emissions, we are now starting to offer unleaded fuel for certain aircraft at the airport. It's a real struggle for the aviation industry to just arbitrarily take out leaded fuel, because that's what makes some engines run. So, but it is happening, and we are offering that. It's substantially more expensive for operators to use unleaded fuel, but it's happening, and it will come as a primary fuel in the future. For the airport, we had a very successful concourse. We had a lot of aircraft in. That's more aircraft than we've ever seen at the airport before. The whole airport tarmac was littered with corporate jets, and I know we're all enthusiastic about getting our own, but there was several on the airport there, and so that's the most we've ever seen. And that our safety project is moving forward, which is at this stage, it's clearing the area on the north side of the airport, where we are going to be put the new fire station and remove all of our light general aviation aircraft to the north side. So that's moving forward rather rapidly. And we are waiting to find out how we qualify at the airport for the infrastructure funding. Part of that infrastructure funding is headed towards airports and specifically towards terminal constructions. That's extremely important for us if we're to move forward with a new terminal. Our traffic at the airport was phenomenal. We're almost to the same level we were in 2019, thanks to all the new carrier operations that we have, the new cities we're serving. Our load factors are up to 84%, which is a real testimony to our region and our county using the airport. They're filling the airplanes, and that's very encouraging for our air carriers. COVID, the resurgence of COVID is having an impact on future bookings, though. And so people are getting a little more reluctant to book flights out into future months here because they're not sure what's going to happen. And I think we can all relate to that. We're operating 13 daily departures, nonstop departures out of Monterey. That's significant. And we have low-cost carriers coming into the marketplace, which we think is even going to attract some people to drive down from San Jose to take advantage of the low fares. For those of you who enjoy flying in and out of San Francisco, particularly for international travel, they've now opened their second runway. A lot of our delays out of San Francisco, out of Monterey, and even some of the cancellations were due to them with runway construction in San Francisco. That's been cleared up, so you can have a little more confidence flying into San Francisco if that's your choice. And we're examining connections to Mexico out of Monterey. That's connections, not direct flights. We don't have customs service here, but one of the markets that I think has been overlooked flying out of Monterey has been how do you get to Mexico? And many of our county residents and our regional residents have need of those flights. So we're looking into what can be done to improve that travel. And our TSA pre-check system whereby you didn't have to take your shoes off, didn't have to take your belt off, and you could kind of breeze through TSA, went very successfully. We signed up 325 appointments at Monterey. So that was a very successful operation. And I encourage all those of you who travel, even infrequently, get that TSA pre-check. And we're still, and for those of you who are interested, we're still evaluating what our role might be and what the county and the region's role might be in these electronic vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. It's coming. It's going to be huge for us in the county, and it's going to be huge for travel. So I can take any questions you might have. Thank you very much, Ed, for the opportunity.
You bet, Bill. And you do have a question, Supervisor Alejo.
Yeah, I was just going to mention the switch to lead fuel only because it was a timely issue last week in San Jose with the closure of the Reed Hillview Airport because of the lead exposure to residents there in East San Jose. So I'm glad our regional airport is also making the switch and addressing those concerns early on, as it was too late for that airport to remain open in Santa Clara County. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you, Bill. Next, we want to hear from our MST partner. I didn't see Carl here, but I think Michelle Obermeyer, you're with us.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, board members.
Morning.
Michelle Obermeyer, Director of Planning and Innovation. I'm filling in for Carl this morning. I do have several updates for you. Good news and bad news on the MST side. Good news is that ridership is up. The schools are back in, colleges and the university are open. So we have seen an increase in ridership. The bad news is that we are struggling with staffing levels. We just don't have enough bus drivers to operate the services that we have been. So this past weekend, we did a service change, and unfortunately we had to suspend some lines because of the driver shortage. So if you know of anybody looking for work, we're hiring. Go to mst.org. We're looking for an HR assistant, bus drivers, and a trainer, and then we'll have some more positions posted in the next few weeks. Labor Day weekend, we will be ending our free fares on Sundays, which has been going on countywide for a good part of the summer. And then we'll also be ending the Monterey trolleys. So that's Labor Day weekend. Like I mentioned, the colleges and university are back in, and MST continues to offer free fares for college students that have a valid fall 2021 student ID. We'll be having a ribbon cutting October 11th in the afternoon for our King City Operations and Maintenance Facility. It's just about done. It looks really good. So you can put that on your calendar, October 11th. And then the big news on my end, on the planning side of things, we are undergoing a network redesign. We're looking at the entire transit system, and we are proposing some changes that would take effect later next year. We're going to take this to our full board for a presentation next month, September 13th. You can see a presentation from our consultant. We'll be going out to the public to get feedback on this. This will be our second round of community engagement, and we'll have a community meeting. We're looking at October right now, so we have enough time to get a lot of feedback from the community. And those are the big updates for MST, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, any questions for Michelle? I see Mary Adams. Go ahead, Supervisor.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Michelle. And I'm just wondering about the overview. Is it primarily focused on routes, or will you be focusing also on the types of vehicles that you have within the system?
So on the planning side, we're looking at the routes, where those are going and how often they're going. We have a separate project going on right now that's related to our fleet. With the State Air Resources Board, we do have a requirement to transition to zero emission vehicles. And we've started that transition. We have 5 electric vehicles right now. And we need to transition 100% zero emission. So we're doing that separate. But the community meeting that I mentioned that's coming up is really focused on the routes.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. I don't see any other questions for you today. We look forward to those public outreach meetings where we can contribute. Monterey Bay Area Resources District, Rich, we know you're there because you have a beautiful photograph behind you.
I like to tell everybody that's actually my backyard. So I'm not there right now. That's just a photograph, but I get to enjoy that on a daily basis. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few updates here. And first of all, our AB 2766 grant program, which funds our clean vehicle and clean air management programs. We're introducing an electric bike incentive program this year, along with the clean vehicle program. And the incentive amount will be $1,000 per applicant for e-bikes ranging from $1,000 to $4,000, and the eligible applicants must be low-income qualified. We've got about $50,000 available for that portion of the clean vehicle program. And then I just want to give a plug for now's the time to buy an electric vehicle or lease an electric vehicle. There are several rebates available to the public, including one from MBARD, up to $1,500 to purchase or lease an EV. Plus, if you're low income qualified, that amount doubles. And similar programs are available at 3CE, the Community Energy Program. There's $7,500 in tax assistance credits from the feds, and the CVRP program for the state. There's a waiting line right now, but they hope to open that up soon, and that's up to $2,500. So PG&E is actually giving money for vehicles and for charger installations. So take advantage of all these. They're all stackable right now and can really buy down the cost of an electric vehicle. And then I just wanted to mention that the other side of the AB 2766 program is our clean Clean Air Management Program. And we've got $1.2 million in grant funds available this year. We received $2.6 million in requests, and staff recommends the following. Monterey Salinas Transit will receive an electric bus. That's $300,000. They wanted 400, so we worked with them to buy that down. Monterey City Disposal Class 8 electric refuse hauler. So we will be providing a $300,000 to the contractor for the city of Monterey for a new refuse hauler that's electric. And the same goes for the city of Watsonville. They will be receiving a refuse hauler as well. It's $300,000. I believe they originally requested 400 for that. And then for the city of Santa Cruz, they're turning over a lot of their fleet. So we'll be giving them a $300,000 to replace additional diesel powered equipment right now, including waste haulers. So, and then I just wanted to mention too that the Alisal Union School District in Salinas just received in July an all-electric school bus that was part of our district zero emission school bus program. And this project was funded in collaboration with Central Coast Community Energy. And then lastly, I just wanted to let folks know that the design and permit phase of a charging installation in Soledad is ongoing. We hope to start construction very shortly for a DC fast charger in Soledad. This is in the Mission City Shopping Center in the Starbucks parking lot, and we'll have 4 dispensers there. And we hope to have this online as soon as possible. So all good news as far as electric vehicles goes. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rich. It looks like you've got a question from Mr. Sabo from the airport.
Thanks, Rich. Regarding the rebates for electric vehicles, do those rebates apply to only 100% electric, or are any hybrids included?
Yes, hybrids are included, plug-in electric hybrids. The state has stopped funding incentives for that, but 3CE and MBARD are continuing along with plug-in electric hybrids. We think they're essential to getting the fleet changed over.
Okay, thank you, Rich.
Looks like we've got Mayor Kerr. You have a question?
Actually, Supervisor Alejo is first. I'm happy to.
I'm sorry, he was just above the fold there.
That's okay. I don't want to skip in line.
Yeah, Supervisor Alejo, go ahead.
Richard, all the rebates you mentioned, is there on the Air Resources page, is there one location where residents who are interested in a hybrid or an EV could go and find out where they are all at, versus trying to look at different places and kind of bring them all together, and including that, how to get on the wait list for the state rebate?
Great question, Supervisor Alejo. In fact, my board had those same comments and questions at our last meeting last week. And so to that end, we've done a press release in English and Spanish that went out that's talking about the options available for folks and where to find information for those types of incentives. And then you can go to the state's website, the CVRP, that's the California Vehicle Rebate Program, Electric Vehicle Rebate Program, and they'll have information on how to get in line for those funds. But yeah, we're trying to get the word out because, as I said, this is sort of the perfect storm of funding for folks. And we know, for instance, that VW now is offering their ID4 electric vehicle, and those things are flying off the shelves. Some people are saying they're going to be the new Volkswagen Beetle because they're relatively inexpensive compared to some of their comparable other electric vehicles, and VW buying down the cost with some of these incentives off the top. So that's really been very attractive to a number of folks that are looking for a great electric vehicle.
Right.
Richard,
I'll look for that info on your website on the press release that went out, because I think we're trying to make it easier for folks who never considered buying an EV. Where to start? It's new. It's like a new language to a lot of residents. I know that in the Latino community for sure. But as there's more incentives, I think people are going to take a closer look at it. The second thing I wanted to mention, because it was introduced as a new proposal at the Board of Supervisors, was because we have a new sustainability officer, was really looking, and I know you guys have been leaders on this, but was really trying to look and assess in terms of the charging stations, you know, the level 2s and the DC, the fast chargers, where are they? And where do we need to put more investment, right? And in particularly the unserved and underserved areas. When I looked at a map of charging stations the other day of just Salinas itself, there were quite a few in North Salinas and but in South Salinas also, but very few, actually one in East Salinas, right? And the one charging station was at the Alisal campus of Hartnell College, which is only opened certain hours of the day. So just within my city, I saw that there's gaps in terms of where we're putting this, and it was a concern because I saw when President Biden issued the executive order with some of the largest auto manufacturers earlier this month, and they've committed to in 9 years to try to have to make half the auto sales in the United States be electric vehicles. So with such a big goal, that kind of pushed me to say, okay, we got to do our part in Monterey County to prepare and see where the needs are and facilitate it, making easier for all Monterey County residents, including workers and lower income families, to be able to have the infrastructure needed to meet those goals. So I look forward for our county to work with you, as you guys have been the leaders on this already, but seeing where we could partner to fill in those gaps throughout Monterey County.
It's a great comment. I would just say you must have a spy in my office, because yesterday we just had this discussion, and we found some funds that are prioritized for low income and for disadvantaged communities, and we think we can use those funds to install charging station in those areas. We don't have a lot of those areas in our community, in our 3-county jurisdiction, but we do have, according to Cal EnviroScreen anyways, we do have a number of areas where we think they would be appropriate and would qualify and would meet the requirements of the grant fund. So look for that to be happening soon, and completely agree with you on that.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Richard, just by chat, Debbie invited you to send the news release on the EV rebates to TAMC, to Executive Director, and she'll make sure that we all get that and post it up on our website as well.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Kerr.
Thank you. Richard, I'd love to invite you to come and do a presentation at our city council meeting to make sure that we help spread the word. On the press release, low income means different things often for different entities. Do you have a description of how to qualify or who may qualify?
Yeah, so we try to keep that as separate from our institution as possible. And we use Central Coast Community Energy Services. They're a nonprofit service headquartered in Watsonville, and they make the determination. And there are different levels of low income, obviously, but we turn all the information over to them, and they make the determination. And I used to know the numbers off the top of my head, but it depends. There are different ways of getting at low income depending on the number of family members and if you're single or what have you. So, but we leave it up to them, since they can house all that information in their servers and all that stuff. And we don't have to be taking in tax records and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I would look at 3CE, or not 3CE, but Central Coast Community Energy Services website, and they should have information on LIHEAP and all the other programs that have the low income distinction.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Good to see you.
See you. Thank you.
Great. I think we've covered all the questions for Rich, and thank you all to the partners that presented. Action item or item number 9 is reports on meetings attended by board members. So any board members that have attended meetings at the TAMC's expense. Now is the time to speak to those. I don't think we had any. Deborah, anything to comment on item number 9?
No, we weren't aware of any.
Okay, good deal. Next up, Executive Director's report. Debbie?
All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have maybe 3, maybe 4 items just to follow up from the MBARD report. I wanted to note that the Central Coast Coalition was successful in getting a Caltrans sustainability grant to update and prepare a Central Coast wide charging network plan. And so 2 of the focuses of that will be where the needs are in disadvantaged communities. And it'll probably be a definition that we define regionally as opposed to the Cal Enviro screen, which is, as we know, too restrictive. But we're also going to be looking at freight charging. So look forward to coordinating with the Air District on that and you all as well. The second thing that I wanted to mention, I wanted to thank the Board of Directors for its leadership and extensive input in prior meetings and adoption today of TAMC's racial equity plan. It's something that you'll be getting touchstones coming back to the board in several different areas with regards to funding and programming and such. And in light of the ongoing episodes that we see in our community, I'm just proud that our agency is taking a leadership role. And, again, we welcome your input as to how we can add different features into our activities to assure that we're representing the entire community and that we're investing resources in our entire community. Next, I just wanted to mention that we have a celebrity in our midst, at least for those of us that are into transportation planning. Councilmember Chap Paduri was selected for the 2021 Champions Institute by Smart Growth America. He may want to say a couple words as to what that means, but my understanding is that he's going to go through an intensive study plan and learn how to champion complete streets to make our transportation system safer for people to walk and bike and to help disseminate best practices in the field. So I'm really thrilled to have him taking the initiative to apply and to represent us. Smart Growth America is a nationwide association that takes leadership in this regard. I don't know if the council member has some words, but congratulations.
Yeah, and thank you, Debbie. I wasn't expecting to speak. And frankly, the purpose of me joining that program is in fact to learn. So I hope to report back with results, but the intent is really, a broader intent is to make sure that under the auspices of complete streets, we're taking a focus on people and not necessarily cars or anything else. And that is really the broader driving force. And I am hoping that this learning experience helps me with the how do I do something, rather than why is it there. I think it's really a overall encapsulating learning experience. And I hope to disseminate all the information that I gather with the broader county matters as well as TAMC itself. So thank you. And I'm thrilled, by the way, with all your support. But one of the big things was the application process itself, and needed to get recommendation letters and so on. So I'm very happy that TAMC was supporting me. So this is an overall, I would say, community effort, even with my application process and even with me getting selected. So thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, Jack.
Fantastic. And then lastly, there are a certain number of folks on the Zoom today who are still recovering from what was a long night in City of Delray Oaks, promoting active transportation with our 4TAG project. And I just want to give kudos to the staff team as well as the city team and the project team, because one of the things that happens when you give your retirement notice is that it's important to step back and let the team take on the activities and not be in the lead. So I've kind of stepped back from being the lead on a lot of our projects and trying to facilitate the transition. And so I just want to thank the team. We've had some consultants taking the lead. We had Mike taking lead. We had Todd available to answer questions. We had Teresa helping to provide encouragement and publicity. And of course, Mayor Kerr, who's done whatever she can to facilitate our interactions. So at some point in time, you'll all get an update on that project, but anytime the staff team goes above and beyond, I really just want to thank them for their efforts on that. So that's it. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Debbie. So next is announcements and comments from transportation agency members on matters that they wish to put on future transportation agency agendas. I know there was just one for the notes, to try and connect a little bit more on I think it was the airport, the Scott Eads report on Caltrans. So some master planning from Caltrans to maybe see if we could have a presentation early 2022. So we can put that one down. Any others from board members wishing to see future action items, agenda items? Okay, seeing none. Of course, you always are able to communicate with your executive director as well as to the executive committee to make sure that we surface items that we want to see on future.
Chair Smith, I think Mayor Kerr has her hand raised.
Okay, Mayor Kerr, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to be so verbose this morning. I don't have anything for a future agenda item, but I just want to echo Debbie's sentiments about the team, their effectiveness, their responsiveness, and their professionalism last night in Delray Oaks. We have a group of residents that are adamantly against the 4TAG path, and the team did go above and beyond to do a very informative presentation at the drop of a hat. So I am very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any others that might have had comments that I missed that wanted to respond to anything the executive director indicated? She had a couple of very important items there. Any other comments? Okay, great. Let's move us to the final. We're going to close out and move to a closed session. So I think we're going to, everybody that's a board member will stand by here, and TAMC staff will move us all. One of the instructions as we all move to closed session is you all received the packet with the confidential codes. You can open up the report that we're going to be discussing. Also, as board members move over and join us in the closed session, please keep your camera active. At this point in closed session, we want to make sure that we have acknowledged the board member that's there in the room. And please just disable your back screen and be live on your camera. We appreciate that. So board members stand by. And for others, thank you for joining us today. And we'll leave this up to staff now to move us all to the closed session.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'll open up the breakout room.
Okay, great, thanks.
Todd, you don't get to go in that?
No, nope, they get to talk.
I think most
think we've gotten everybody actually. Let's see. Oh, except we lost our chair for a minute, so we'll wait.
Looks like we're all back, Mr. Chair.
You're on mute, Ed.
Oh, thank you.
All right, do we have Eloise that is here for roll or? Yeah, Eloise, I see you. Can you do a roll as we reconvene to full session?
District 1 Supervisor Alejo.
Aye.
District 2 Supervisor Phillips.
Aye.
District 3 Supervisor Lopez.
Here.
District 4 Supervisor Askew.
Here.
District 5 Supervisor Adams.
Here.
City of Carmel by the Sea. City of Del Rey Oaks.
Here.
City of Gonzales. City of Gonzales. City of Greenfield. City of King City.
Present.
City of Marina.
Present.
City of Monterey.
Present.
City of Pacific Grove.
Here.
City of Salinas.
Here.
City of Sand City.
Here.
City of Seaside.
Aye. Here.
City of Soledad. City of Soledad. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We reconvene after a closed session. Catherine, we have an announcement from closed session.
Yes. Pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957B1, the TAMC Board of Directors met in closed session regarding employment of a public employee, and the board has voted 13-0 to approve the employment agreement for the executive director candidate. That includes the report.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So with that action item, we have completed the business of the day. And this regular meeting of TAMC will be closed from now. And thank you very much. And we'll see you all next meeting in September. And we appreciate all your hard work. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.